I stood at the entrance of the church, the whispers swarming like flies around rotting truth. Every head turned, every jab dropped, not because I was late, not because the bride was already inside, but because I, her sister, stood there in a black velvet gown, a gown she thought I'd never dare wear, a gown that exposed everything. This wasn't the plan, at least, not the original one. But you see, when someone steals your wedding day, the dress you picked, the guests you invited, the man you thought you'd marry, you don't just walk away quietly, you rise. And when you do, you make sure they remember it forever. My name is Danica, 32 years old. I used to believe that loyalty ran through blood like inheritance. I was raised in a picture-perfect family, or so it seemed. Mom, a former high school principal turned garden club, dad, a retired lawyer, and my younger sister Talia, the golden child. Everyone adored Talia. She had the laugh that made strangers smile, the charm that turned mistakes into misunderstandings, and a way of stepping into any room and somehow making it hers. She was 2 years younger, but it often felt like she was the older one, the bolder one, the one people chose to notice. I was the careful one, the planner, the doer, the one who got straight A's, earned the scholarships, started my own business, and bought a house before 30. But that kind of success, it's quiet. It doesn't sparkle. It doesn't post well on Instagram. Talia did, and she knew it. She loved me. I truly believed that, in her own way, in her own voice. But I'd be lying if I said I hadn't seen flickers of envy in her eyes over the years. Mom calling me for advice, Dad bragging about my promotions, my fiancé Michael choosing me. Talia once joked, "If we weren't sisters, I'd hate you." I laughed then. I shouldn't have. I met Michael at a charity auction in the city. He was tall, confident, a little older, 36, and ran his own real estate firm. He had that steady warmth I craved. Within 6 months, we were inseparable. Within a year, we were engaged. Talia said she was happy for me. She even cried when I showed her the ring. But I remember now, the way her fingers lingered on it. The way she asked, "Are you sure you two are really compatible?" I brushed it off. We were sisters. Best friends. She was just being protected, right? Wrong. The wedding planning began, and Talia was my maid of honor. It felt right. Natural. She helped me pick colors, narrow down venues, and she even came dress shopping with me. I found the dress one rainy Thursday afternoon. It was off-shoulder, ivory silk, with a trail of lace that danced behind me like a secret. When I stepped out of the dressing room, everyone gasped, including Talia. She blinked, her smile faltering for just a second. Then she said, "Wow, you look like royalty." The boutique staff took our photos. We laughed, hugged, and had champagne. But later that night, as I hung the receipt on my corkboard and carefully tucked the dress away at my place, I got a text from her. "Are you sure it's the one? Just in case you want to keep looking, don't lock in yet." So. I didn't think much of it. She always second-guessed things. But now, I wonder if that was her first chess move. Life moved fast. The guest list grew. The florist backed out. The rehearsal dinner was a nightmare of overbearing aunts and awkward toasts. But I kept my head down and my heart focused on what mattered, Michael. He was everything I needed. Calm when I spiraled, supportive when I doubted, and respectful in every sense. But he wasn't perfect. He had one flaw. He trusted people too easily, especially Talia. A week before the wedding, I noticed Talia had been unusually distant, not answering calls, canceling fittings. When she did text, it was brief, busy, overwhelmed. Trust me, I chalked it up to stress. She had just gotten out of a long-term relationship, and I figured the wedding must be stirring things up. But Michael, he mentioned once while pouring wine at dinner, "Talia's been texting me a lot lately, asking about the seating chart, music, stuff I thought you'd covered." I raised an eyebrow. "She didn't ask me," he shrugged. "She said you were swamped." That was unlike her. She didn't go behind my back, not with me, or so I thought. Then came the day before the wedding. I went to pick up my dress, but it was gone. The boutique owner looked confused, flipping through her binder. "She picked it up this morning," she said. "Who?" "Your sister. She said she was authorized." I stood there, breath caught between rage and disbelief. She'd taken my wedding dress, without telling me, without asking. Just took it. I called her, straight to voicemail. I texted, "Where's my dress?" No response. Michael was already at the venue, dealing with deliveries. I didn't want to ruin everything. I needed answers. I needed her to explain. I drove to her apartment. Her car was gone. So was her spare key from under the mat. Something twisted in my gut. That night, as I lay awake staring at the ceiling, the pieces began clicking together like cruel puzzle pieces. The whispers, the way she'd watched us, the texts, the laughter between them at dinner. She hadn't just taken my dress, she was trying to take my place. The morning of my wedding, I didn't wake up to excitement. I woke up to silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that hangs heavy like something awful is about to begin. My phone had no new messages. Not from Talia, not from Michael. I texted her again. "Where is my dress? What is going on?" No reply. At 9 a.m., my best friend Sabrina came over with coffee and a forced smile. She could tell something was off the second she walked in. "Okay," she said, setting the cup down. "What's going on? You look like someone murdered your soul." I told her everything. The missing dress, the weird texts, the boutique lady's confusion. Sabrina froze. She stole your dress? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe she was just trying to surprise me? Help with alterations? Maybe it's nothing. But even as I said it, the words felt false. Hollow. Sabrina narrowed her eyes. You think she's with Michael? The room spun a little. No, I said too quickly. She wouldn't. I mean, she flirts with everyone. That's just how she is. But she wouldn't do that. But hadn't I caught the way Michael sometimes smiled when she entered the room? Hadn't I seen her lean too close, laugh too long? I shook my head. No, Michael wouldn't. But doubt. It's like a single drop of poison. You don't taste it at first. But once it spreads, it's all you feel. By noon, Sabrina convinced me to go to the venue early. We'll figure it out, she said. Worst case, we find a new dress. We delay the ceremony, whatever it takes. But don't let her ruin this. The venue was already bustling. Florists were arranging bouquets, the caterers were unpacking trays, and the photographer waved at me. But as I stepped into the bridal suite, my breath caught. There, on the back of the chair, was my dress. Pressed, steamed, hung with care. I froze. Sabrina stepped in behind me, frowning. Wait, that's... She brought it here, I whispered. A note was pinned to the hanger. Don't freak out, just trust me. Can't wait to see your face. Love, T. Sabrina snatched the note and scoffed. What the hell does that mean? My hands were shaking. I don't know. But I felt it again. That sick twist in my gut. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I changed into the dress. I loin. Beautiful even. But the magic was gone. I didn't feel like a bride. I felt like a pawn. And then at 3:15 p.m. it happened. Sabrina came running into the bridal suite, breathless, eyes wide. You need to come with me, now. I stood up. What happened? Just come. She dragged me down the hall, past the kitchen, out the side entrance toward the staff parking lot. And that's when I saw them. Michael, Talia, standing too close, whispering, laughing. And then, he tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. His hand lingered. She touched his chest. They didn't know I was there. Sabrina gripped my arm. Say the word, I'll punch her. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. I stepped forward, Michael. They both turned. And in that moment, I knew. He didn't even look shocked. He looked guilty. Talia? She blinked and then smiled, like she'd won. Danica, Michael said, stepping forward. Listen. Don't, I snapped. Don't say a word. Talia crossed her arms. It's not what it looks like. Really? Because it looks like you're touching my fiancé the day of my wedding. Michael sighed. This is getting out of hand. It was just a misunderstanding. I laughed. A cold, broken sound. A misunderstanding? Like when you let her pick up my dress? Like when she's been texting you about things I planned? Talia stepped forward, unfazed. You were too busy to notice how unhappy he was. I blinked. Excuse me? She smiled, slow, venomous. You were so wrapped up in your perfect wedding, your perfect business, your perfect little life, you didn't see what was missing. But I did. I couldn't believe it. My own sister. Sabotaging my wedding and blaming me? Michael ran a hand through his hair. Can we talk inside, please? No, I said. We're done. I turned to Talia. You stole from me. Lied to me. You're my sister. She raised an eyebrow. You always had everything, Danny. For once, I wanted something for myself. I swallowed the lump in my throat. So you took my wedding day? No, she said. I took back my life. What the hell did that mean? She walked away without another word. Michael followed her. He didn't even look back. That night, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in my apartment, in that beautiful dress, surrounded by uneaten cake and untouched champagne. Sabrina stayed with no words, just presence. At 1 a.m., I finally asked, do you think he ever really loved me? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. The next morning, the story had already spread. Guests whispered about the missing groom. My parents were mortified. Talia posted a cryptic photo of a champagne glass and the caption, "What's meant for you finds you." I stared at it, and that's when it hit me. She wasn't just stealing my man. She was stealing my narrative. My silence was giving her permission. No more. If she wanted the spotlight, I'd give it to her. I always thought the worst pain was losing someone you loved. I was wrong. The worst pain is knowing they were never yours to begin with. The day after the wedding that never was, my parents came over. My father was red-faced with shame. My mother wouldn't even sit down. How could you let this happen, she asked me. Me. Let this happen? I stared at her. You think I let this happen? Her lips trembled. You could have kept it private. Now the whole family's talking. The neighbors. Your Aunt Margot's already calling it the jilted bride scandal. I laughed bitterly. Glad you're worried about the neighborhood gossip and not the fact your younger daughter slept with my fiancé. Mom's face went pale. Dad finally spoke up. We didn't know. Talia said, she said you postponed the wedding, that you needed space. My nails dug into the armrest. She's manipulating everyone, and you're falling for it. Dad sat next to me. Sweetheart, we love you. But you and Michael weren't exactly perfect. Maybe you rushed into it. There it was. The undertone. The blame. I was the responsible one, the quiet one, which made me the easiest one to dismiss. I didn't speak to Talia for 3 days. Then she showed up at my front door, wearing white. A cruel joke, maybe. She didn't knock. She just let herself in like she owned the place. You changed the locks, she said. No, I said. I just finally used them. She laughed softly, brushing her hair behind her ear. You've always been dramatic. You've always been a liar. She dropped the smile. I didn't steal him, Danica. He was never really yours. I stood. Get out. She didn't move. You're mad now. But one day, you'll realize I did you a favor. I walked toward her. You don't get to come into my home, destroy my engagement, and pretend you're doing me a favor. You would have been miserable, Danny. He wasn't who you thought he was. My fists clenched. And you are? Who the hell are you? She looked at me with pity. You always needed things to be perfect. You build these neat little boxes and get mad when people don't fit in them. So you destroyed my life to prove a point? She smiled. I just set it free. After she left, I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty hallway, staring at the silence. I realized something in that moment. I wasn't crying, not because I wasn't broken, but because the pain had gone somewhere deeper. It had turned into fire. Michael texted 2 days later, "Can we talk?" I ignored it. He texted again. "You deserve an explanation." So I let him come. He arrived looking exactly the same. Pressed shirt, expensive watch, face full of fake remorse. "I never meant to hurt you," he said. I raised an eyebrow. "That line work on her too?" He sighed. "Talia, she came to me a few months ago, said you were overwhelmed, that you were having doubts." My stomach churned. "And you believed her?" "I didn't want to," he said. "But she was comforting, easy to talk to." I laughed sharply. "Of course she was. She's always been easy." He flinched. "That's not fair." "And what about this is fair?" He rubbed his temples. "Look, I panicked. I felt like you didn't need me anymore, like you had everything figured out. Talia made me feel like I mattered." There it was. The truth. He didn't want a partner. He wanted someone who made him feel big. "You're pathetic," I said. He stood. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I'm here. That has to count for something." I walked to the door and opened it. "You're right," I said. "It counts. It counts as closure." Word spread fast. Friends stopped calling, family chose sides. Some blamed me for being cold. Others whispered about Talia's betrayal, but no one said it to her face. She and Michael posted a photo together 3 weeks later. Caption, "Sometimes, love surprises you." It got 674 likes. I blocked them both. But inside, I was still unraveling. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. My reflection looked like a stranger. Dark circles, dull eyes, lips bitten raw from holding back every scream I never let out. And the worst part? I started to believe them. That I was too strong, too in control, too intimidating. Was I? Was being successful a flaw? Was being independent unlovable? I spiraled for weeks until I got a call from my lawyer about the prenup. Yes, I'd had one drawn up. Michael never signed it, said it felt unromantic. But what he did sign was our joint real estate venture documents, the same ones that made me the primary stakeholder in our property investments. The same ones Talia likely didn't know existed. I met with my lawyer and laid it all out. "I want out," I said, "but I'm not walking away empty-handed." She smiled. "You won't be." That night, I sat down at my desk and opened a fresh journal. At the top of the page, I wrote, "Plan for justice." Because I wasn't just going to heal. I was going to win. Revenge isn't loud. It's quiet, precise. It waits like a lion in tall grass, patient and still, until the perfect moment to strike. I wasn't out for blood. I was out for the truth, and I was going to let them hang themselves with it. After the betrayal, I took 3 weeks to disappear. No texts, no posts, no updates. Let them wonder. Let them think I was broken. Because while Talia and Michael posted filtered photos and smug captions, I was gathering receipts, literal and emotional. I started with the real estate firm Michael, and I started together 2 years before our engagement. He had always been the face, charming, confident, but I was the backbone. I'd invested most of the capital. I handled the paperwork. I knew every clause, every loophole, every vulnerable point. And here's the thing about betrayal. It makes you sharper. I learned that 3 of our properties had been refinanced behind my back. He used my digital signature. Fraud. Illegal. He never thought I'd look. He thought I was too busy planning the wedding. I wasn't. I just trusted him. My lawyer, Cassandra, was ruthless. The kind of woman who wore 6-inch heels and a blood-red lip while quoting civil code like scripture. "You want to destroy him legally?" she asked. "No," I said. "I want him to destroy himself. I just need the stage." We filed a quiet audit. Launched a review with the investor board. I called the property partners and sent them the signed agreements he'd altered. All legal. All documented. And while I was doing this, I also planned a little social revenge. I got an invitation from my cousin Brielle, Talia and Michael's engagement party. They weren't even married yet, but already celebrating. Because that's what narcissists do, throw parties to distract from their wreckage. The event was going to be big, open bar, live music, family and business contacts invited, a beautiful venue downtown, semi-formal dress code. I RSVP'd and told no one, not even Sabrina. I wanted the shock to be fresh, but I didn't plan to wear something typical. No, I had a different kind of dress in mind. I went to a private designer, a woman named Livia who specialized in statement pieces, custom gowns with hidden meanings, bold architecture, and unapologetic presence. "I want to walk into that party," I told her, "and make every head turn, not because I look beautiful, but because I look untouchable." She smiled like a witch casting a spell. 2 weeks later, I picked up the most powerful piece of armor I'd ever owned. Midnight, black velvet, backless. Form-fitted with a slit that spoke of control, not desperation. A diamond chain wrapped around the neck like a collar and spilled down my spine like a dagger. It was stunning and terrifying. Exactly what I needed. The night of the party, I arrived 45 minutes late on purpose. The room was already warm with music, laughter, and wine. Talia was in white, of course. A plunging neckline, pearls in her ears, fake innocence on her face. Michael stood beside her, hand on her back like she was his trophy. They saw me before I saw them. The moment I walked in, the laughter died. Forks stopped halfway to mouths. Phones lifted subtly. Because I didn't just look like a woman scorned, I looked like a warning. Talia's eyes narrowed. Michael's jaw tightened. I smiled. A slow, calculated smile. Then I walked straight to the open bar, ordered a glass of champagne, and turned toward them as if this whole party was my encore. I didn't speak to them. I didn't need to. But fate loves irony, because just as I was about to leave, my uncle, bless his wine-loving soul, dragged me into a toast. To Michael and Talia, he slurred, may their love be half as strong as Danica's dignity. The room chuckled awkwardly. Michael looked like he wanted to disappear. Talia raised her glass and said, Danica, darling, I'm so glad you came. It means the world. I took a slow sip. Oh, I wouldn't have missed it. I mean, how often do you get to see betrayal? Gift wrapped? The crowd gasped. Talia blinked. Excuse me? I stepped forward. Don't worry. I'm not here to expose your lies. I figured I'd let the IRS do that. Michael's face turned white. Talia looked confused. And that's when I said, loud enough for the room to hear. You know, it's funny. When someone forges your signature to pull money out of your investment firm, you'd think they'd at least try to cover their tracks. Michael opened his mouth. Danica. Oh, and Talia? I turned to her. When you sign on as a partner in a business based on fraud, you become liable too. Guess you'll be needing a lawyer. The room went silent. I left the champagne on the table, turned on my heel, and walked out. Not a single person followed me. The next day, the calls came in. Michael tried to reach me, twice. I ignored them. Talia texted, You ruined everything. Are you happy now? I didn't reply. Because she was wrong? I didn't ruin anything. They did that on their own. I just handed them the mirror. By the end of the month, Michael's firm was under formal review. Talia was no longer tagging him in her Instagram posts. My family? Oh, they started seeing things a bit differently. Aunt Margot even sent me a fruit basket with a note that said, You were always the classy one. Sorry we didn't see it sooner. Too little? Too late. But whatever. 3 months. That's how long it took for their perfect little world to crumble. The audit uncovered everything. Michael had been siphoning investor funds for over a year, some of which had financed their luxury engagement party and the house they were building together. And because Talia had legally signed on as a creative consultant for the firm, yes, that was the actual title she gave herself, she became entangled in the legal fallout. Civil litigation was filed. My lawyers handled every move. I barely had to lift a finger. Michael's assets were frozen. Talia's name became mud in the business circle she once flaunted for clout. And me? I was finally free. One afternoon, I received a letter. No envelope. Just a folded piece of paper tucked under my front door. It was from Talia. I didn't expect things to turn out this way. I thought I was smarter. I thought I could have what you had without the work, without the cost. But I was wrong. You always did things right. You always had real power. I'm sorry. I know it doesn't matter anymore, but I needed to say it. I read it twice, then burned it. Because closure doesn't come from apologies. It comes from choosing yourself. Every time. I started traveling again. I took that honeymoon trip to Greece by myself. I walked the cliffs of Santorini with wind in my hair and no one to answer to. Strangers asked if I was newly married. I said yes, to freedom. And slowly I remembered who I was before they tried to rewrite me. Not the scorned bride, not the betrayed sister, not the quiet, predictable girl behind the scenes, but the woman who built her own life, brick by brick, stone by stone. And when someone tried to burn it down, she rebuilt it higher. People ask me now, would you ever forgive them? I smile. Forgiveness isn't about letting people back in. It's about letting yourself go free. So yes, I've forgiven them, but they will never have access to me again. That chapter is closed. It's funny how betrayal can feel like death when it first hits. You think you'll never breathe the same. But what I've learned is, sometimes betrayal is the beginning of becoming. Because when people rip everything away from you, you see what can never be taken. Your voice, your worth, your story. And if you're wondering about that dress, the one she stole, I still have it. It hangs in the back of my closet like an old scar. A reminder that what was meant to break me only sharpened my edges. The next wedding I walk into won't be as a guest. It won't even be as a bride. It'll be as a woman who knows her worth. Unshakable, unbothered, and dressed for something far more powerful than revenge, peace.